Welcome to Flix and Comix. I'm JoJo and we're about to set this month off right. Come on guys, it's October. Saw 10 just came out in theaters not too long ago, so I thought I would do a review on my channel. And if you haven't seen the movie, I will be getting into some mild spoilers just to let you know, but to be honest, like 90% of this movie was already spoiled in the trailers. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Saw 10 or Saw X, whatever you want to call it, was directed by Kevin Greutert, who's actually known to have edited several of the other installments in this franchise. He was also the director on Saw 6 and on Saw 3D or Saw 7. So this guy is no stranger to the franchise. He knows the lore and he's earned his stripes to direct a movie such as Saw 10. So this film takes place in between Saw 1 and Saw 2. And you know, that's just part of the fun of being a Saw fan. You just never know what part of the puzzle they're gonna give you next. And you know, that's, I think, serves to the longevity of the series in general too. So I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I really admire that they tried something different with this film. Not just one thing actually. There are a lot of things that we have never seen in this franchise before. Namely, the story was a lot more character driven with this. We followed John Kramer in a way that we had never seen before. We saw a side of him that was a lot more vulnerable, more empathetic towards certain people and emotional about his own situation. You got to see him grapple with the fact that he might pass away in a couple months. So because of his vulnerability, he falls into this elaborate scam where this doctor is promising an experimental surgery paired with a cocktail that'll cure his cancer. And needless to say, the scammers end up having to play a game. I have a couple of things that I need to talk about and get off my chest here. So one of the things I talk about a lot on this channel is the fact that, you know, I'm always welcoming and happy that we're getting horror sequels and remakes, but my thing has always been just change it up a little bit, right? So in that regard, I very much respect the fact that they were trying to be different with this film. It is number 10 in the series, so I understand 100% why they decided to go this route, and I don't blame them. And actually, this film has been well received so far, I will say. So that's all great. But for me as a fan, this just wasn't my cup of tea, and I'll tell you why. There are a couple of reasons. While I'm happy that these actors like Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, Costas Mandylor got to reprise their roles, it was so hard for me to just believe that this was taking place between films 1 and 2. They're just much older. I mean, that's just a fact. It was just way too jarring for me, and I know it probably wasn't a problem for a lot of people, but I can't lie. So as I said earlier, this movie is a lot more character driven, and we're focused a lot more on John Kramer, his motives, his sense of morality, and I don't know if I really liked that. You know, I'm just partial to that ruthless SOB that we once knew in the earlier installments of Saw that would slam the door on some poor soul's dying body and say game over. You know what I'm saying? This movie really focused on John Kramer and kind of forgot about Jigsaw. And you know what? I'm here for Jigsaw. I don't know about you guys, but he seems a lot more interesting to me. Just saying. Sometimes less is more in these horror films, and a part of the charm of these Saw movies is the mystery of it all, the puzzles, the riddles, who's behind the traps, who's the killer. I mean, there's a reason why they called him Jigsaw in the first place. And we as the audience love to feel like we are a part of that in trying to figure it all out. We put ourselves in the victim's position, and that's what makes it creepy. This movie didn't have me guessing like that. The same gripe I had with Spiral. It just felt like John Kramer was exacting his revenge, which brings me to another point If you remember in Saw 3, that whole movie was about revenge and how no matter what you do to avenge whatever wrong happened, it's not going to take away that pain. So that felt a little contradicting with this. These scammers are taking advantage of the suffering and the ill, so they have to play a game. But it also just really feels like he wants revenge. And because we were seeing this more humanized John Kramer who cries or winces when he sees, you know, that an innocent girl is being hurt, like that to me was hard to believe as well, because here you are essentially setting up traps for people to potentially lose a leg or freaking lose their heads. No matter what the outcome is, no matter if it's their fault or not, he set the traps though. So to me, it's weird that he's over here wincing when this girl is being hurt. Like you've never seen blood before, you know? And it's just like, what? Like that really took me out. I think the most surprising part about it was that Shawnee Smith was in it as his protege, but I mean, is it surprising though? Like we saw it in the trailer. Why? We did not need to see that in the trailer. When it came to the traps themselves, I thought they were okay. I did wince myself a few times there for good reason. Pretty gruesome. Some of the stuff we've seen in previous films is a little more inventive than what we saw here in this film, but we didn't see as much Billy. I was kind of indifferent about that. Just being that it's the 10th film, like I get it, they didn't feel like they needed to focus as much on him, but he is a spooky part of the movie, and it just seems like they took a lot of what was scary about Saw films. They took that out. So because we lose the mystery of it all and those mind reveals, honestly, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that I think Saw 1 through 4 at least are superior horror films. These are me problems. These are my own opinions. That's just how I felt about it. So I will say I like how this film concluded. It did feel like an end to something, and you know, it was a nice little bow tie. There was one loose string, but I'm sure that'll come back in, you know, some other film later on down the line. But for now, I really do think they should, you know, close this chapter, this John Kramer chapter. They should just leave it like that. And on top of that, come on guys, they're old, they're so old. Like I said, like it was hard to even believe that this was supposed to be earlier in their lives. Like, whatever. I would say this film is about a 7 out of 10 for me, personally. Not saying it's a bad film by any means, it's just we didn't need to be focusing on John Kramer as much as we did. But you know, I get it. They just wanted to do something different, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's my 2 cents, guys. If you like this video, give me a like or subscribe or both. I don't hate it. And you can catch me on Instagram at Flix and Comix, and I guess I'll catch you over there.